From the other end of the phone, I heard a cool voice. I'm at a small restaurant right now. Do you remember this place? You? I cut off Emily's voice, saying, I remember. You have a good memory. I thought you might be busy today. I interrupted her again. I'm free. Can I come over now? A chuckling sound came from the other end of the phone. It's so frustrating not to be able to see her face. The smile of the girl I used to love is there on the other side of the phone. I'll be waiting. The moment I hung up, I started running. My name is Steve. I'm turning 37 this year. I have recently been assigned to a new department and am being introduced to everyone at the morning meeting. It's somewhat embarrassing to hear the department head explain things about me, but I can't just stand around. I need to perform beyond what was introduced and contribute to the department. With that determination, I look at everyone's faces to regain my focus. As the morning meeting ends and everyone is about to return to their desks, that's when it happened. Sorry I'm late, said a young man as he slid into the department. The department head was scolding him for being late. It's not late, just made it. I'll take the scolding later. I'm really busy right now, he said, opening his laptop. Man, I was drinking with Mr. Johnson, president of our client company, yesterday and it went on late. He invited me to his house. He said if I caught the 7:30 train, I'd make it. And I did just that, but it was a close call. Tough night, he rattled on, unasked. The department started buzzing. Yes, it just happened. He responded lightly to a colleague's question. If he had stayed over at the house of the president of our client. Overnight stay at the house of the president of our client. It seems he's good at getting into people's good graces. Even I, meeting him for the first time, found myself disarmed. The department head was visibly troubled, but ignoring his twitching eyebrows, the man gestured for him to wait. No, I'm really busy right now. There's a meeting with Company S, and I've got a lot of stuff today. Hearing about Company S made me perk up. A lot of stuff. I couldn't help but ask. The man said while looking at his laptop. Yeah, the supervisor from the client said the materials we brought last time weren't enough. So I said I'd bring all the materials. Steve's been pushing me to wrap things up with Company S by today. The young guy glanced at the department head while speaking. He just nodded silently with a stern face. The young guy sighed. I've explained everything thoroughly already. I wonder what's missing. To his muttering, I asked, Can I accompany you on this negotiation? At my words, the man looked up suddenly, despite his furrowed brows. I pressed on. You said there's a lot of stuff, right? I'll help you carry it. My offer seemed like a godsend as his face lit up. Really? That would be a big help, he said, then looked back down at his laptop. I'll call you when we're leaving. Thanks a lot. Without looking at me again, he immersed himself back into his computer. The department head gave me a questioning look, as if to say, Are you sure about this? I nodded with a smile. 30 minutes later, let's go. Called by the young guy, I rushed over to him. Oh, by the way, I'm Mark. Have we met before? Actually, I'm the top salesman. Finally, I learned his name. I introduced myself with a smile. I'm Steve. Nice to meet you. Mark nodded and handed me a bag full of files, which I took. All right, let's go. With a brisk step, Mark hurried across the floor. I managed to keep up with him. Arriving at Company S, Mark checked us in, and we were directed to a meeting room. Seeing me looking around curiously, Mark laughed. Don't look around so much. Are you okay? Well, it's a big company. Even the meeting room is unnecessarily luxurious. It was unclear if Mark was trying to squeeze my nerves or just making small talk, but he spoke with a friendly smile. However, it's strange. Doesn't he wonder about me, someone he just met today? Though we had briefly introduced ourselves once, it felt awkward to say anything more. As I was thinking about this, The door to the meeting room opened and a man entered. This man, Carl, seemed familiar with Mark, and they started chatting amiably right away. "Mark, I'm counting on you today. I want to recommend you to my boss with confidence, so please make sure I have enough information," Carl said, extending his hand for a shake. Mark gestured towards the bag I was holding and reassured, "No worries. Look, I brought a ton of materials." That was when Carl finally noticed me. "Who's this?" As I was about to introduce myself, Mark cut in. He's just helping me carry stuff today. We have so many files." "Oh, really?" Carl said. I nodded and greeted him, though I missed the chance to introduce myself properly. I continued to observe the negotiations. Faced with a mountain of files, Carl looked troubled. "Mark, don't you have a summary of this?" Mark frowned. "But last time, you said to bring all the materials." Carl groaned. "But still, no one's going to look through all these files if we present this. I'll get chewed out. You know, my boss is called the Queen of Ice." Reacting to Carl's words, I asked, "The Queen of Ice?" As I repeated the term, Carl made a face as if he'd slipped up. "Please don't mention it. She's very capable, but strict with herself and others. They call her that behind her back, but her judgments are sound, and I've learned a lot under her. So I do respect her," he explained, choosing his words carefully. Internally, I smiled wryly. "Anyway, we can't present this," Carl concluded decisively, dismissing Mark's suggestion. "Oh, come on. We've been pressured to wrap this up by today. Can't we meet your boss directly?" "I'll explain," Mark asked. Carl shook his head vehemently. "That's impossible. She's busy with meetings at another branch today." As Carl paid Mark clung to hope. "Please, just 5 minutes." I chuckled to myself. There's no way you can explain all this in just 5 minutes. Mark bristled at my comment. "Don't speak up when you don't know anything. I've explained this product many times before." It seemed I had inadvertently wounded the pride of the top sales performer. Regardless, I handed my business card to Carl. "Could you please pass this card to your boss?" Carl frowned. But..." I took a deep breath. "Isn't your boss Emily?" At my words, Carl's eyes widened. "How do you know that? Did I mention it?" I shook my head. "I have known her for a long time. If my business card does not work, then I'll give up and leave for the day." At my words, Mark shot me a reproachful look. I ignored it and continued to stare at Carl. Hesitantly, Carl stood up. "I'll just pass the card. If it doesn't work, you leave today, right?" After his words, I nodded firmly. Reluctantly, Carl took my business card and left the meeting room. After the door closed, Mark began to rant in a panic. "What are you promising on your own? We are told to be done by today. If we can't meet, then just leave like that." I sat at Mark's complaints. Either way, they will not meet us if we don't do anything. I didn't look at Mark as I replied. I could see from the corner of my eye that Mark was flabbergasted. "I'm going to say it was your fault today." I just chuckled at his petulant tone. Then, 10 minutes later, the door opened and a familiar face appeared. "Steve, when did you get back to the U.S.?" a flushed Emily asked, and I smiled. "Today is my first day back at headquarters." Emily was greatly surprised. "Really? You came to us on your first day. If you had told me, I would have handled it myself." Carl entered the meeting room delightfully. He seemed bewildered, probably having never seen his boss up close like this. Mark's reaction was predictable. Even without looking, he must have his mouth wide open. "Sorry to trouble you. May I proceed with explaining the product?" Emily nodded slightly but then thoughtfully added, "Since you're here, it might be a bit of a hassle, but could you explain it to 2 more people?" I nodded, not fully understanding. Then Emily instructed Carl, who left the meeting room. Again, shortly after, Carl returned with 2 men. These are Mr. Chan and Mr. Hang from our Chinese branch. Since you're here, could you give the presentation in Chinese? She smiled slightly, gauging my reaction. I feel like I'm being tested, and it excites me. Just what I wanted. Of course, Emily. Will you? Emily crossed her arms, her expression turning serious. If these two are convinced, I will be too. If there are parts they aren't satisfied with, we'll need more materials. Later, with the reunion scene over, she switched to business mode, the Queen of Ice persona perfectly intact, devoid of any smile. While feeling a nostalgic fondness internally, I switched into work mode. I set aside the vast files I had brought and began explaining in detail, using the materials Mark had previously used in negotiations, addressing the two Chinese gentlemen. I answered their questions accurately. I could sense that Mark was genuinely surprised. It felt good, a little, but no, it's not right to mock the young man, however, being skilled at winning people over and having never really faced setbacks due to his top sales performance and excessive confidence. Perhaps it wouldn't hurt to bend his pride just a little. In fact, this product was one I handled while in China. Therefore, I knew more about this product than Mark did. Having seen the manufacturing process and known the development history, I could provide a more detailed explanation than an average salesperson might. The two Chinese gentlemen were very pleased with my explanation, talking to Emily with satisfaction. Emily discarded her iron mask and smiled. Very impressive. May I ask a question too? Prompted by her, I tightened my loosened focus. She had grilled me over and over again in the past. If I stumbled even slightly, it was back to the drawing board. Reminded of my younger days, I renewed my determination. Her questions were sharp, but I managed to answer all of them smoothly. The contract was settled on the spot, and the negotiation was a great success. I'll be in touch, she said as she left, handing me a business card. On the back, an 11-digit number was hastily scribbled. As we exited, Mark started firing questions like a machine gun. Wait, what's going on? Who are you really? You're not just the new guy who volunteered to carry stuff, right? I chuckled. I'm a guy who spent 8 years honing skills at our China branch and returned today as the head of sales section 1, proficient in Chinese. At my words, Mark's eyes bulged in surprise, and he apologized deeply. I'm so sorry. I burst out laughing. You should listen when people talk, you know. Our department head tried to introduce me several times, but you never paid attention, did you? Mark shrank a bit. I'm sorry. I was busy and flustered. I looked at him seriously. You've gotten by with that attitude so far, but what if I had been a very difficult man? You'd be fired, you know. Mark paled a little. But you're really lucky I'm not at all difficult. Too bad for you, but it was a close call today, huh? It was good luck that I came along today. Mark glanced at me tentatively. So, Steve, how did you get on Emily's good side? He was surely looking to turn my story into a learning opportunity for his job. Smiling inwardly, I began to share an old story with him as we headed back to the office. 15 years ago, after graduating from university, I started working in sales at this company. I underwent training, shadowed a senior, and when it was time for me to handle things on my own, I was assigned to Company S. At that time, Emily was also newly tasked with handling negotiations with our clients. Being new and extremely vigilant, she would stop my explanations at every turn to ask for details. And if I hesitated in my explanations even slightly, she would order me to take the issue back and revise. She was a tough person. She held herself to the same standards, always impeccably dressed in a crisp shirt and well-tailored suit. Back then, I was an audacious young man trying everything I could to win over this difficult client. But she only smiled when I explained things well. It was almost like she was a teacher, and I found it somewhat frustrating. And then, as things went on, I found myself falling for her. Her occasional smile breaking through her iron mask, That smile was incredibly beautiful. I was driven by the desire to see that smile and worked hard to suggest things she would like. Gradually, my performance improved, and then, 8 years ago, I received a transfer order. The location was China. I informed her about the change in my responsibilities, but her expression remained stoic. However, unusually for her, she who had never accepted an invitation for a drink, even for business entertaining, asked me out for a drink as a farewell party. Just the two of us. It was in a small restaurant, and we spent just an hour, no flirty conversations, just good food. Not much talk, but the food was delicious. I was impressed she knew such a good place, though it seemed irrelevant. Her last words to me were, "I hope we meet again." Those words strangely lingered in my heart. As I finished my story, omitting my romantic feelings, Mark's eyes widened in amazement. Wow, I'm not good with that kind of strictness. Redoing work if it's not perfect, that's too much for me, Mark said in a disheartened voice. You need that kind of resolve to get attention from some people. Mark grinned dramatically, and I'll leave such people to you, Steve, and I nudged him lightly. I wondered how to toughen up this guy who seemed unlikely to be defeated by a mere dent to his pride. After a tumultuous first day, as I left work, I found myself pondering over something the business card from Emily turned over. 11 digits, definitely a cell phone number, probably Emily's private number. Should I call it? Not calling might be impolite after she gave it to me. Various thoughts crossed my mind, but I decided to be honest with my desires. I wanted to see her. That reason was enough. I dialed a number with a pounding heart, and it connected even before it rang once. Just that made me incredibly happy. Hello. Her voice came through. Tentatively, right? She wouldn't know my number. Ah, it's Steve. As I spoke, Emily's tone relaxed a bit. Ah, I thought so. Thank you for calling. A brief silence followed. I'm at a small restaurant right now. Remember this place before you went to China? Before Emily could finish, I interrupted. I remember. Good memory. I thought you might be busy today. I cut her off again. I'm free. Can I come over now? A chuckle came through the phone. It's frustrating not being able to see her expression. The smile of the woman I liked is on the other side of the phone. I'll be waiting. The moment I hung up, I started running. When I arrived at the small restaurant, panting, Emily chuckled. There was no need to rush. I wasn't going anywhere. Seeing her smile that I had missed earlier, I mentally celebrated. I sat down opposite her, my heart pounding. To celebrate your return to headquarters, let me treat you. What would you like to drink? Her left hand extending the menu was beautiful. There was no ring on her left ring finger. Her last name hasn't changed. Maybe she doesn't wear rings, or maybe she keeps her maiden name for work, or perhaps she's married but has a different last name. As I considered all the possibilities, I couldn't bring myself to ask the one question. Are you married? Married, then, she asked me. Are you married? I was taken back for a moment when the words came from Emily. Instead, it took me a moment to realize that the question I had been hesitant to ask had been posed by her. She waited for my answer for a bit, then sighed. So, you are married. Is it your policy not to wear a ring? I panicked, not expecting her to conclude her own question. I'm not married, not at all. I was also wondering whether I should ask you that, and was surprised. As I fumbled for words, her expression turned sad. Who would marry a woman called the Ice Queen behind her back? Her self-deprecating words made my heart skip a beat. I would like to if I could. Upon hearing this, she looked surprised and then laughed. You've always been such a charmer. It was the biggest smile I had seen from her yet. Frustrated that she might think I was joking, I faced her earnestly. I'm not lying. At my words, she suddenly teared up. Ah, I'm sorry. Did I say something to make you cry? Startled by her tears, She was also taken aback. Ah, tears. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. She wiped her tears with her index finger and looked down. I'm sorry, it's just, lately at home, from my mother recently, her sister had her third child, and their mother had told her, you'll have to manage your old age on your own. It felt as if she was being told she couldn't hope for children or marriage of her own and should live her life alone. Those words had stuck with her. I was just a bit troubled, and then you said something unexpected. It shook me. Saying this, she smiled and sipped her whiskey, looking beautiful. Why would you say something so unexpected? I've always liked you, Emily. I decided to be forthright, ignoring her puzzled look. At first, working with you, I was always messing up, and you patiently suggested improvements. When things came together, you smiled at me. That smile was beautiful. I poured out all my feelings. Even today, in the meeting room, seeing you who usually doesn't smile like that, smiling so much because of our reunion. And earlier, when I ran all the way here, and you smiled, I want to see more of your smiles. I want to see the expressions you show only to me. Even while I was in China, I couldn't forget you. She was flustered. Wait, that's embarrassing. Are you joking? She questioned if all I had said was a lie, disbelieving. I exclaimed quietly, it's not a lie, Emily. At this, her face turned bright red. If you've given up on marriage, please marry me, even if it's just as partners for our later years. Please stay by my side. I'll spend the rest of my life making you fall for me. Her lips trembled. But I'm already 39 years old and children, Steve. You should marry a younger woman, not someone like me. It was painful to hear her say that. I gently wiped the tears welling up in her eyes with my index finger. Startled by my touch, she flinched. I want to be with you, not with some younger woman, but with you, I said quietly, looking into her eyes. When I was about to go to China, you said it would be nice to meet again. When we met again, I was determined to confess to you, of course, only if you weren't married. Her eyes widened. Wait, you mean since that time? I nodded. I've been telling you. I've always liked you, even before then. She pouted. Then why didn't you say anything before you went to China? I was stunned. Oh, because it seemed like there was no chance. I thought you wouldn't see me as a romantic prospect. When I said this, she puffed her cheeks. It's not true. Back then, I liked you. I almost shouted out loud but stopped myself. It's not good to yell in a small restaurant. What? As I was speechless, she looked down. Why would a woman go to dinner alone with a guy who she does not like normally? Hearing this, I held my head. Right, she was that kind of woman. Even if it was just a farewell party, her invitation indicated that there was a chance. Ah, I love you so much. The words naturally came out, and she blushed deeply. I'm sorry for being so dense. I'm sorry for wasting your time. Is it still okay if we start now? She nodded slightly. Truly, she had no confidence in being loved. If that's the case, I'll make her feel loved as much as possible from now on, that she is deeply loved for a lifetime. 2 years have passed since then. Ah, Robert is crying. Emily's shout made me hurry over. Wait, if Robert is crying, look, Hannah started crying too. We are married and currently on parental leave, raising our twins. After getting married and considering our ages, we quickly sought fertility treatments and were blessed with twins, a boy and a girl. At 41, having twins was a concern, but the Queen of Ice bravely went through her pregnancy, worked hard until her maternity leave, and successfully gave birth to twins. She was divine after giving birth. Thank you for everything. I love you. When I expressed my gratitude, Emily let tears fall. I wonder if I deserve to be this happy. I'll never forget the moment she said that with tearful eyes. Today, Mark is coming over to celebrate the birth. I want kids soon too, says Mark, who doesn't even have a partner yet. I wonder how they'll react to the realities of parenting. How much will it deflate his pride? I'm looking forward to it. As we soothe our little twins, I wonder if it's bad for their education to harbor such feelings. I hope these kids grow up straight and true, bathed in our love. Emily and I smiled at each other as we soothed our children together.